Happy opening day and welcome into the Devil Source Postgame Show. I'm Sammy Miller alongside Cole Bradley following ASU's 6-5 walk-off victory over San Diego State. Cole, what were your initial takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely electric night here at Muni. Over 3,000 people in attendance. It was actually the third highest attended opening day game in the Phoenix Muni era. Super electric atmosphere. Really back and forth game towards the end there. A couple lead changes. ASU blew an initial lead that they had to start the game. Offense kind of stagnated. Pitching didn't really hold up in the end there. But Will Rogers was the biggest takeaway from tonight, Sammy. I mean, when you go 3 for 5 in your sophomore debut, if you will, with a monstrous homer over the left field wall that nearly ended up on Van Buren Street. It was hit that far. And a pair of singles, the last of which was a walk-off single that brought in the winning run and improved ASU to 1-0 on the season. That's a great night. That's a great way to start. And he also did a lot of really good things in the field. He looks a lot more comfortable in left field. That was an issue for him last year defensively, kind of roaming around out there in a position he was pretty unfamiliar with, transitioning from catcher to an outfield spot. So he looked a lot better out there today. He also did a straight steal a third today without a steal sign, which anyone who's ever played the game before knows that that is the kind of behavior where if you're unsuccessful, it gets you benched. And this time he was successful. He scored the tying run in the 8th after stealing third. It was a big moment. It was just an all-around great day for Will Rogers. It is the first walk-off in the Willie Bloomquist era, which is also a huge deal. And it came on a night where everything kind of culminated from, such an eventful offseason. They brought in all these transfers, all these newcomers, such a touted roster after last season. Now it was time to see what they could do, and they made a pretty good first impression. But there were a lot of things to clean up as well, Sammy.
Yeah, exactly. And after the game, head coach Willie Bloomquist said, of course, he was happy with the win, but he was not happy with all of the mistakes. Cole, what were some of those mistakes? Yeah,
well, there's a couple pretty early in the season, there's a lot of these jitters that these guys get, a lot of nerves going on, which is natural, but there comes a time where you just kind of got to lock in and play. And there was a lot of pretty errant mistakes tonight that probably shouldn't have happened. It started in the first inning. There was 2 errors, one from Nua Contradas at third on a booted routine ground ball at third. Ross Dunn had a pretty wild throwing error into center field trying to pick off a runner at second base. So that kind of started it off. There was a couple more errors throughout the game, the most glaring of which came in the 9th inning, I think it was, when Ethan Long let a routine ground ball slip right in between his legs with the tying run, the go-ahead run at third for SDSU. They took the lead shortly after that. And those miscues kind of transitioned onto the base paths as well. There was guys who got picked off. I think there was 2 pickoffs tonight of ASU base runners after they started the inning with a leadoff hit. And if leadoff base runners are getting out via pickoffs, that's never a good deal. So that was also a huge problem. Jacob Tobias was trying to stretch a single into a double that got the first ASU run on the board. He was nabbed at second base. So there's just some things that probably shouldn't have happened tonight, some key base running mistakes that you just kind of have to clean up. And then the things in the field, you can kind of let slide, especially early in the year because fielding is hard. But it's something that needs to be cleaned up over the course of the year, and that Bloomquist said they're going to focus on in order if they're going to be successful moving forward.
Now, Cole, heading into the season, pitching was a huge question mark. And in this game, the pitching was pretty strong in the beginning. They held San Diego State pretty quiet. But then towards the middle and end of the game, we didn't see as strong of pitching. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, Ross Dunn, look, I mean, he had a really rough first inning of work. He was limited to 3 innings in his ASU debut because he went through a procedure to remove a blood clot in his throwing arm. ASU wasn't taking any chances despite how much Dunn said it was super minor. So he got his 3-inning start today. He looked good in his final 2 innings. It was a really shaky first inning. He didn't get help from the defense and his own mistake trying to do the pickoff at second base there. Owen Stevenson piggybacked him. I thought he looked really good, attacked the strike zone, got a lot of soft contact, got a lot of quick outs consistently, and then towards the end there, kind of fell off. Bloomquist actually said he thinks he was tipping his pitches towards the end there, which might be why SDSU was able to get a pair of runs before he was knocked out of the game. But I thought both of those guys did a really solid job. Then you get to the back end of the bullpen with Nolan Lebimoff and Jesse Wainscott, and things kind of fall apart. And anyone who followed this team last year knows that back end of the bullpen was a real issue. Consistently stringing innings together, shutdown innings together, I should say, was just a problem and something this team really needs to focus on this year. And you kind of see why. You let a team as scrappy as SDSU kind of claw their way back into the game like they did against Nolan Lebimoff. They loaded up the bases against him. Then they brought in Jesse Wainscott. He hit his first batter, bringing in the tying run. Next pitch, he gets a fielder's choice that brings in the leading run that should have been a double play ball. Those things just don't really bode well for you. And then obviously, what happened with Ethan Long in the ninth, credit, you can't put all the blame on him. I mean, there was a runner at third base for a reason. Wainscott kind of pitched himself into that situation. You have to be able to kind of weather that storm and, be able to string quality innings together towards the back end of the bullpen. ASU is going to have to really figure that out, or else it's going to be a lot of the same problems that plagued them last year that will wind up sort of being the same issues again this year.
Now for the Sun Devils, they got the job done tonight. They're now 1-0, and they're looking to take this momentum from tonight into tomorrow when they take on San Diego State again for Game 2 at 1 p.m. But that's all the time we have on today's edition of the Sun Devil Source Postgame Show. But don't you worry, make sure you follow along to sundevilsource.com for a lot more coverage.